On air and on demand, it's the Gary Rivers Show on WHBC.
4 minutes after 11 o'clock in hour number 2. Welcome back. And this hour, we're going to talk about a topic that's on so many folks' minds, that's Las Vegas shooting, and specifically the psychological fallout that we're expecting with these thousands of people in that kill zone, 500 plus injured, 58 killed, and many psychologists and those in the field of mental health talking about the possibility of PTSD. Well, there's someone that knows a lot about PTSD. Shannon Walker, she heads up an organization called Northwest Battle Buddies, and it's a nonprofit that provides free service dogs for veterans with PTSD nationwide. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show.
This story, Las Vegas, I know it's not in your field of what you work with every day, but you do work with veterans who face the same thing, isn't it? It really is the same thing that they're facing in Vegas.
It is. Trauma is trauma. And, it's just this evil that came and affected these people. They were so innocent, and it was so unexpected, and it was so... The magnitude of it was so great, and it is. I mean, whether they're on the battlefield, in the military, or whether they are, unfortunately here at home. I mean, they definitely are going to be affected, and they may not know if they're affected, for years to come, as symptoms develop and things like that. And it's just so sad to see what happens.
Let me ask you this about your organization. You provide dogs for these veterans. Give me the psychological reasoning for that and how that works.
Well, yeah, we provide service dogs to combat veterans who have PTSD, and some of the symptoms of PTSD are night terrors and panic attacks and anxiety attacks and isolation, and, they don't want to go out in public. They don't want to feel. They don't want to engage. They just want to isolate, and then different sounds and smells and different public situations can trigger the trauma and be similar to what they experienced in the military, or there can be triggers, and these service dogs that are highly trained and specifically matched for them absolutely serve those purposes. Our dogs actually can help stop a panic attack. They can sense when the panic attack is happening, and the veteran starts to get lost, maybe in a memory or in a moment of what happened to him, and that dog can bring him back to the moment of now by interrupting that anxiety or panic attack. All of our dogs, we've provided 46 service dogs to veterans in the last 5.5 years free of charge. Every single one of our dogs wake our veterans up from night terrors, which is so significant. And many of our veterans, because they also learn how to integrate with the public. They also learn, when you have a service dog, you can't be isolated. You have to go out and take care of that dog, and you also have to learn how to engage the public, because the public is so interested in service dogs. They will always ask you about your service dog. They will always ask you about your situation, and they learn how to respectfully and with knowledge answer those questions, but also learn what they don't have to answer. So it brings healing to the veteran with the symptoms of PTSD from the very, very beginning when they come in and start to seek help. And it's an amazing process.
Well, how do veterans get in touch with you? I mean, are they recommended from mental health professionals and say, you need to contact Shannon and this, or, what's the process?
Yeah, well, you know what? We are referred by the VA, and it is people who know what we do about Northwest Battle Buddies, but also it's family members, and sometimes they just seek it out on their own. But the fact is that, whether it's the mental health that is referring us, which they do, or it's just people Googling online, looking for help, looking for answers for their situation. But they can find us at northwestbattlebuddies.org, and they can also find us on Facebook, and it's all spelled out.
All right. Now, how did this all come about, and how was it determined that these dogs could be of such great help? Because it sounds, absolutely mind-boggling that it works so well.
Well, I've been a professional dog trainer for 20 years, and my father was a veteran, and I'm a single mom, and my twins actually serve in the military also, in the Army and Marines. And when I had a veteran come through my for-profit business, I've been a professional dog trainer for 20 years, and he was seeking help because he wanted his personal dog to be trained to be his service dog to serve him with PTSD. And I had trained service dogs before, but I had never trained a dog for PTSD, and I only knew about what had been on the news about PTSD. And so he got my attention. I helped him train his dog. Actually, I trained his dog for him, and then when I brought them together for his training process, I saw him change. I saw him overcome fears. I saw him overcome so many of the symptoms of PTSD, and I saw what this dog did for him, and it was truly life-changing for him. And then when the other veterans who knew him saw him, they came to my door asking me for help. Well, I didn't have dogs to give, so I started Northwest Battle Buddies because then I knew I could gift these dogs to these American heroes who absolutely deserve our best. And it's just been an amazing ride the last 5.5 years, I have to tell you.
Well, 5.5 years, and I imagine you've grown exponentially, but how do you get your funding, and are you looking for more funding?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. We are completely privately funded, and these dogs cost us about $25,000 the organization, but we gift them 100% free to our American heroes, and so that is where our funding comes from. Some of our dogs come from breeders who donate and want to give back and say thank you for our freedom, and other dogs come out of shelters and our rescues. So it's a win-win all the way around.
All right. Now, getting back to my original premise on these folks from Vegas, do you see these kind of service dogs maybe being of help to some of these folks, especially those who have been wounded? I mean, I just can't imagine what they're going through, the nightmares.
No, I can't imagine either. And absolutely, whether it's a combat veteran with PTSD or whether it's somebody else who experienced trauma in another way that was just as significant. I mean, trauma is trauma, and the symptoms of PTSD are very, some of them might be different, and some, people might have different triggers, but overall, a lot of the symptoms are very much the same. And absolutely, a highly trained service dog specifically matched for that would bring them great benefit if they ever found themselves needing one.
Wow. Well, Shannon Walker, thanks so much for sharing so much of your time with us this morning. We have to go from that. But again, what's your website folks can go to if they want more information?
It is northwestbattlebuddies.org, all spelled out, and they can also find us on Facebook, Northwest Battle Buddies.
Shannon, a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.